Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Lethbridge City Council voted unanimously to repeal its mandatory face covering bylaw just in time for Canada Day. Bridge City News has an exclusive interview with a Canadian sailor who describes what it's like fighting terrorism on the high seas. And we hear from a former Conservative MP, Derek Sloan, who says that voting in another Liberal government next election could be devastating for Canada.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Lethbridge City Council voted unanimously to repeal the mandatory face covering bylaw during a council meeting on Tuesday. That means starting July 1st, Canada Day, people in our city will no longer have to wear a face mask when going out into public spaces. Carson Marsouk has the details.
In an effort to ensure consistent enforcement and understanding public safety messaging, Lethbridge City Council voted unanimously on Tuesday for the temporary mandatory face coverings bylaw to be repealed on July 1st, the same day Alberta enters Stage 3.
The province has been the leader on this. They set a date, so we gave us an opportunity to put our line, cross our T's, dot our I's to make sure we were doing things properly too. But I think we would have created a lot of confusion if our existing bylaw would have stayed in place, which is technically to the end of the year. And the only time we'd be able to revisit, if it wouldn't have been unanimous, would have been our July 13th meeting, which is 13 days of chaos.
Along with Lethbridge, both Edmonton and the town of Taber, among other places, have repealed their mask bylaw for July 1st. Tuesday's hearing carried all three readings unanimously. Mayor Chris Spearman says council is still concerned with the province's leadership if a fourth wave was to occur in the fall.
In the past, the second wave and the third wave were ones that could have been prevented by earlier action by the province. And what we've seen is the province in the past has only acted when it looked like the situation was going to get out of control.
In advance to Tuesday's meeting, 4 physicians from Chinook Regional Hospital in Lethbridge sent council a letter asking them to repeal the mask bylaw as they felt the health measures were no longer necessary.
I think the province is being very cautious with it, and I think we should be more united with the way we approach this instead of little pockets of resistance here and there throughout the province. And I think the AHS provincially is certainly erring on the side of caution, and so there doesn't, to me, seem like a lot of reason why we wouldn't be following the provincial mandate.
However, masking will still be required in specific settings as determined by the Government of Alberta, including continuing care settings as well as on public transit. For Bridge City News, I'm Carson Marsouk.
Lethbridge City Council approved the redevelopment of Festival Square in downtown Lethbridge. The goal of the project is to attract more traffic to the downtown core while keeping the space fresh and vibrant. Senior project administrator with the city says the current space is being used as an outdoor patio and for parking.
So the parking would be completely removed and that whole area would turn into like an outdoor patio seating area for the public. There would be some additional columnar lighting and string lighting to really make it a place to gather and have events. I know that they're looking to put in a stage area so that they could have outdoor concerts. The whole area would be kind of revitalized to really tie in with the theme of the 3rd Avenue.
The project is anticipated to cost $810,000 and will include such things as water servicing, lane rehab, community lighting, and site furniture. An app is letting Lethbridge residents explore the history of our city. The On This Spot app showcases then and now photos of historic spots throughout the Windy City. Pictures are shown from dates as early as the 1900s. The co-founder and CEO of the app, Andrew Ferris, says the company works with cities to go out and map a series of photos and then reshoot them from the same angle.
Whenever someone's walking around town, they can go and see their city through the eyes or from the same perspective of a photographer, a century or more ago. And in Lethbridge, we just did a small kind of a preview selection that we're hoping to be adding to very soon of just about 15, 20 photos. And then what we do is we combine selections of these photos together into walking tours. And we're kind of, a very history-focused, history-centered company, and we take really deep dives into local history and try and put that local history into its wider context. And so we have a lot of fun with it, really exploring, many of the kind of underrated, fascinating aspects of Canadian history.
Medicine Hat, Okotoks, and Calgary are also featured on the app. 3 former engineering technology students from Lethbridge College have been nominated for a prestigious award for their one-of-a-kind project. Carson Marsouk has the details.
When driving down the road, you wouldn't think the asphalt you're driving on is made up of reusable tires. But for 3 former Lethbridge College students, this was the sustainable idea that led them to being nominated for the Capstone Project of the Year award. Amy Gregerchuk was part of the trio working on the project. She says the idea came to them as a way to reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Wholly driven on how our province and how our, kind of construction way is moving and trying to find recycled things, cut down on landfills, kind of sustain our earth as much as we can while kind of increasing the durability and effects of hot mix asphalt.
The team's experiments showed if rubber pellets produced by recycled tires is mixed in correct portions with hot asphalt, it can potentially increase the durability and longevity of roadways. Gregerchuk adds the final project can be used on a variety of surfaces.
We could also probably use it in, playgrounds, in parking lots, municipal roadways, highways, paths.
The project was chosen by the college to be nominated for the Asset Award, a prize that began in 2017 after Asset was continually impressed with the quality of projects coming out of post-secondary institutions across Alberta.
I can tell you that from the caliber of what we saw that first year, we knew we were on to something, because we saw a demonstration of ingenuity, intelligence, and particularly one of the things that really impressed us was a commitment to the public good.
Last week, Asset announced the winner of this year's award, a team from Red Deer College. Lethbridge, St. Nate, and Red Deer College are eligible to submit the top 2 capstone projects completed each school year for the chance to win. For Bridge City News, I'm Carson Marsouk.
July 1st is a very special day for Canadians. We'll be celebrating our country's 154th birthday. Now, due to the recent COVID-19 restrictions, the City of Lethbridge did not have much opportunity to plan anything for our country's birthday. Our poll question this week was, are you a little disappointed that the City of Lethbridge is not doing anything special for Canada Day, including no fireworks? We added up the results, and 68% of you said yes, it was in fact a little disappointing. Make sure you visit bridgecitynews.ca once again to participate in our newest poll question. If you take a drive down your local neighborhood, you'll most likely see some unique street names. But how many times have you ever thought about the significance of those names? As Micah Quinn explains, one community here in Lethbridge has a historic veteran presence related to its street names.
The Veterans Subdivision by the General Stewart Elementary School in South Lethbridge was dedicated to the return of World War II soldiers.
As the subdivision got developed, a school was going to be placed here, and they then asked the service organizations what veterans' name would they like to propose. And so it was strictly done through the Army, Navy, and Air Force Veteran Association here in Lethbridge, and they unanimously selected General Stewart as a proposal, and that was accepted by the school district.
The street names in the subdivision have their own meanings coming from the Navy, Army, and Air Force.
So from the Navy's perspective, we are actually along Corvette Crescent, which the school is also along, and a corvette was a type of ship used in the Battle of the Atlantic to protect against the submarines in convoy duty. Astra is taken from the Royal Canadian Air Force model, and Astra refers to the stars. Dieppe was named for the raid in France, as Canadians hadn't really been in battle yet. Itching to get into the fight, they've been training all along in England. In Italy, there are 2, Cassino and Ortona, and there are many Canadians buried in Italy. We also have Dunkirk, which is the evacuation of the Allies. We also have Felice, which is part of the Felice Gap. Another street is also called Normandy, and that's for the Battle of Normandy, not just on D-Day, but that whole area as they moved inwards and outwards towards Germany.
Miller says the best way to honor these names is to understand where they came from and to keep the legacy alive of those who fought for us. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Keeping us safe is a full-time job for our Canadian Armed Forces. Our military members provide protection for us on the land, sea, and air. Many are also involved in counter-terrorism initiatives. You can include Petty Officer 2nd Class Jason Bovenue, who's originally from Lethbridge and now lives in British Columbia. He's a 13-and-a-half-year military veteran who is currently on the high seas aboard the HMCS Calgary. Petty Officer Bovenue, thanks so much for joining us here today. How does your ship become involved in a counter-terrorism mission named Operation Artemis?
Each year, Canada is involved in a number of missions throughout the world, and HMCS Calgary was lucky enough to be selected to come over for Op Artemis this year and represent Canada.
So how did the mission turn out for you and the crew of the HMCS Calgary?
The mission turned out to be a great success. We were working with Combined Maritime Forces and Combined Task Force 150 with a number of other nations where we would basically patrol the waters and disrupt and seize any illegal narcotics that happen to be transferring through the area that they use to fund criminal organizations and terrorist groups. There's inherent danger anytime Canada or any of the ships come out on a mission, but we did a tremendous amount of preparation and work training before we came out here. So the ship's company and my team, as well as our specialty team, were well prepared for coming out.
So what was the end goal for Operation Artemis?
The end goal for the mission is essentially to cut off the revenue stream for criminal organizations and terrorist groups in the region. They use illicit narcotics and weapons and other means to fund their activities in the area, and we come out to disrupt and seize those, so we cut off the revenue stream.
Now, do you work with other countries which are also involved in counterterrorism initiatives?
Combined Maritime Forces has 34 different nations that work with them throughout the year, and we actually did a lot of our replenishment with the Americans, as well as we did maneuvers with one of their early.
Have you ever been involved in a dangerous mission like this before?
I have been on a mission like this before. Most notably back in 2016, I was the chief bosun mate on HMCS Whitehorse, where we did a similar drug interdiction mission down just off the coast of Central America. But this is my first time getting to come over to Operation Artemis, and it was extra special because I got to be the Alpha 2 for Calgary's organic boarding team.
So how long have you and the ship been deployed?
HMCS Calgary's been deployed since February of this year. We're going to be over here for roughly about 7 months, and we're due back sometime in September.
Petty Officer 2nd Class Jason Boisvenu, thanks so much for your time today. Be safe on the high seas. And if there's anything else you wanted to add?
Got a lot of family and friends back home in Lethbridge, but most notably, I'd like to say hi to Mom and Dad. Hi, Marty. Hi, Joyce.
That's wonderful. That was Petty Class 2nd Officer Jason Boisvenu joining us aboard the HMCS Calgary. There are some in Ottawa who believe that we may yet see a fall election. How would Canada do under another minority or majority Liberal government? Independent Ontario MP Derek Sloan says it would be disastrous. In fact, he believes many Canadians should be praying this does not happen.
You know, the last 5.5 years here of Liberal government have been very poor for the nation, both morally and economically. They've bought into various ideologies like climate catastrophism and other types of things that, taken to their extreme end, would bankrupt this country. And they're well on their way to doing that. But I would say to Canadians, you know, take hope, pray for deliverance. And I truly believe that God is going to open doors leading into this next election, and we won't have to go through with that.
Catch the full interview with Independent Ontario MP Derek Sloan and Jeanette Rocher coming up later in our newscast. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tells the Gender Equality Summit that Canada will spend $100 million over the next 5 years to support paid and unpaid care jobs in developing nations. Trudeau says the pandemic has exposed how reliant we are on people who care for others.
This new commitment makes Canada the largest national donor to the care economy worldwide. And when it comes to a feminist recovery, we're not stopping there. We're going to continue partnering with feminist organizations at home and around the world, because in the last 5 years, we've seen what we can achieve by working together. I think of the almost 25 million children whose lives have been changed for the better by the Global Partnership for Education, a partnership Canada will continue to support.
Prime Minister Trudeau says there's a role for the justice system to play following the discovery of hundreds more unmarked graves near a residential school in British Columbia. But Trudeau says achieving reconciliation in Canada is about much more than just what governments and the justice system can do. Chief Jason Louis of the Lower Kootenay near Cranbrook, BC, says ground-penetrating radar revealed 182 unmarked graves at the St. Eugene's Mission Residential School. It's the third time in recent weeks that hundreds of such graves were found at the sites of former residential schools. Indigenous leaders will be visiting the Vatican to press for a papal apology for the role of the Catholic Church in residential schools. The Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops says the meeting with Pope Francis will take place between December 17th and 20th to foster meaningful dialogue and healing. Officials say there will be a separate 1-hour session with Pope Francis for each of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit delegations. They say they will ask the Pope to come to Canada to express his apologies and his sorrow for what transpired in residential schools to help with the healing process. BC Premier John Horgan is crediting public health officials and residents who followed protocols for the country's extraordinary results when it came to fighting COVID-19. Most restrictions will be lifted on Canada Day.
Vaccination rates have continued to go up, again, relative to other jurisdictions, extraordinarily well. Cases are dropping. Today's, am I jumping the gun on this? 29 cases in British Columbia today, 7 in Fraser Health, 7 in Fraser Health. And these outcomes are a direct result of the efforts that all of us have made as British Columbians to take a global pandemic as seriously as we should, follow the direction and guidance of public health officials, and take care of each other, take care of our neighbors, take care of businesses in our community.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe says his government will not require people to show proof that they've been vaccinated against COVID-19 to attend large events. Moe says there are concerns that could violate the province's Health Information Protection Act. Moe also discussed how so many people are looking forward to the province reopening on July the 11th. That is when public health orders will be lifted based on 70% of eligible residents getting at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
At that point, there will be no restrictions on gathering sizes, no requirements to wear a mask, although you may want to continue to wear a mask in certain situations, in particular if you are not fully vaccinated. That will be totally up to you. It will also be up to businesses and other employers to decide whether they want to keep any of their COVID practices that they currently have in place past July the 11th, such as physical distancing, access to hand sanitizers, mask use for their employees and potentially even customers.
Ontarians were able to get their first haircuts in months as the second step of the province's economic reopening plan took effect on Wednesday. Public health restrictions on sales and other businesses were rolled back. Salons were allowed to reopen to 25% capacity with masking and other rules in place.
Tomorrow we're opening, actually. Today we're still getting things ready, but tomorrow is our big day. No, we had sufficient notice, but there's just so much to do. I mean, the shop's been closed for 7 months, so we have to super clean everything, disinfect everything, restock our products. So we had a sufficient time, but we need more time. It's exciting, but at the same time, it's exhausting. All the things we've had to do at the last minute to get ready again, get all our products and our colors and everything that we need for the health board, and which we do all the time anyway. We're like pros at that.
Search and rescue teams continue to search through the rubble of the condo building, which collapsed in Miami-Dade County. The rescuers are searching urgently for the scores of people buried beneath the fallen 12-story wing of the Champlain Towers condo building. 4 more bodies were found today, bringing the death toll so far to 16.
You always got to keep that in mind behind you, that there's a possibility for secondary collapses, which puts a lot of restrictions on us as far as the work going on the pile. The weather hasn't been cooperating with us. As you can see now, we stopped the process. So those breaks, just interrupt the continuity.
When I got here, there were about 20 to 25 people hanging off the balcony all the way up the building. I made my way around to the north side, saw the collapsed version of the building. Didn't really know how big the building was at the time. The TRT chief, we formed together a task force to start working together to find victims in not only in the rubble, but we had to start getting people off the building because we were afraid of a secondary collapse.
Weeks before that Florida condo building collapsed, the president of the board wrote that structural problems identified in a 2018 inspection had gotten significantly worse. The letter also stated that the owners of the property needed to pay over $15 million to get them fixed.
The letter said the building needed to move fast and owners needed to pay up to get the repairs underway. The letter was written by the condo board president. She wrote, quote, "A lot of this work could have been done or planned for in years gone by, but this is where we are now." She said that weakening concrete, a problem highlighted in an inspection in 2018, more than 2 years earlier, was only going to get worse if the repairs were put off any longer. She wrote, quote, the concrete deterioration is accelerating. The bill for the repairs was a big topic of conversation among residents. One told us a lot of people were complaining, especially the old people living there. Quote, it was a lot of money.
Bill Cosby has been freed from prison after a court in Pennsylvania overturned his sexual assault conviction. This is a stunning reversal for the comedian who was once known as America's Dad. The ruling was that the prosecutor who brought the case was bound by his predecessor's agreement not to charge Cosby. The 83-year-old has served more than 2 years of a 3 to 10-year sentence after being found guilty of drugging and violating Andrea Constant at his home in Pennsylvania in 2004. He was the first celebrity tried and convicted in the Me Too era. It is not just in Alberta where we're seeing pastors being arrested during the pandemic. A Christian street preacher in the United Kingdom has won a claim against West Yorkshire Police for wrongful arrest, false imprisonment, and breach of human rights. Reporter Daniela Martins has the details.
A Christian street preacher has won damages after he was wrongfully arrested and imprisoned for preaching the gospel. David McConnell had been preaching in Huddersfield town centre when passers-by heckled him. They asked him questions about sexuality and abortion, subjects he had not been preaching on, before calling the police. He was subsequently arrested for an alleged hate-related public order offence. Mr. McConnell, who was supported in his case by the Christian Institute, was in police custody for about 6 hours before being released without charge. West Yorkshire Police admitted liability in court papers and agreed to pay over £3,000 in damages plus legal costs. Mr. McConnell told the Institute he was thankful the police had admitted what they did was unlawful. It was a very distressing experience for me, but I'm glad I can put it behind me and I'm able to continue to share the good news of Jesus Christ.
Well, we had another heat warning in our region today with temperatures in the mid-30s once again, and the mercury will be climbing even further as we head into Canada Day. Complete weather details are on deck. You know, I'm kind of thinking I may not be alone as a person who likes to hide out in his basement when the temperature is this hot. Unbelievable, wow. Jeanette Roche is back with a complete look at our long-range weather forecast. Jeanette, it appears as though we may be breaking more temperature records over the next couple of days.
Yeah, well, we should be breaking a record today, and actually we're looking at record-breaking temperatures tomorrow and Friday as well. So looking at Canada Day tomorrow. Now, the last time a record was broken here in Lethbridge, it was 1990. The temperature was 33.3 degrees. So tomorrow we are looking at a high of 37 degrees for Canada Day. So if you are planning to go out for those Canada Day celebrations, possibly in Raymond or Granham, other little communities around Lethbridge, make sure that you keep hydrated and try to take some breaks from that sunshine as well. It's going to be intense. Looking at record-breaking temperatures also on Friday with 36 degrees, mix of sun and cloud, 32 on a Saturday, cooling down to a nice 31 for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So we are just breaking records all over the place. Environment Canada, of course, calling it a historic heat wave because of all the record-breaking temperatures consistently in a row there. Average high for this time of year, 24. We've knocked that out of the park a long time ago. Average low, 10 degrees. High on this day was 36 back in 1944. Today's high was 37. Our low temperature on this day was in 1968, and the temperature was only 5 degrees. Can you imagine that? Right before Canada Day. Sun rose this morning at 5:28 a.m. Sunset this evening at 9:43 p.m., giving us 16 hours and 15 minutes of daylight. Looking at record-breaking and heat waves all across the country, including in British Columbia. So finally, the coast here getting back into the 20-degree ranges. 25 in Victoria, lots of sunshine, mix of sun and cloud in Vancouver tomorrow for Canada Day, 24 degrees. But look at what's happening in Edmonton tomorrow also, 37 degrees there, 34 for Calgary. Should be a little bit windy in Calgary, looking at a 50-kilometer-per-hour wind gusts and maybe 40K also in Edmonton. So a little bit windy than normal there. Look at these temperatures across Saskatchewan, 35 the high in Saskatoon. Regina's high 33, 32 degrees in Winnipeg. It's just going to be scorching hot all across the prairies tomorrow for Canada Day. Over in central Canada, though, we're looking at rain, possible showers in Toronto with a risk of a thunderstorm, 24 the high there. Ottawa 23, looking also at a risk of a thunderstorm there. And Montreal sitting at 26 degrees for their Canada Day with a mix of sun and cloud. Now the heat warnings have ended for Fredericton and Halifax. There is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for Fredericton this evening, but tomorrow looking at a 30% chance of showers for their Canada Day, 24 degrees the high, 28 in Halifax. Halifax also looking at 30% chance of showers tomorrow. 15 degrees the high in Charlottetown with a chance of showers, and 10 degrees only in St. John's, Newfoundland, looking at 5 to 10 millimeters of rain for Canada Day there. So there you have it. That is your Canada Day forecast. Enjoy.
Today's weather is brought to you by Jeff Reimer of Royal LePage South Country Real Estates, 403-380-1779.
A new report says there may not be enough oil and natural gas left in Alberta to fund the estimated $40 to $70 billion of cleaning up old and abandoned wells. The report suggests the public should take over insolvent energy companies and operate the remaining wells to ensure whatever revenue is left goes towards site remediation. Reagan Boychuk of the Alberta Liabilities Disclosure Project calls it a radical idea, but he points out to the example of Trident Exploration, which was still pumping the equivalent of 10,000 barrels a day when it collapsed in 2019. That left more than 4,000 unreclaimed wells. New figures show that Alberta's fight against COVID-19 hit more than $5 billion by the end of the last fiscal year in March. The money went toward continuing care, hospitals, personal protective equipment, testing, and vaccine distribution. The numbers are part of the final report on 2020-2021 finances delivered by Finance Minister Travis Taves. The year ended with a $17 billion deficit on $60 billion in spending. Taxpayer-supported debt sat at around $93 billion. The report says the pandemic decimated Alberta's resource-based economy. Real GDP fell by 8.2% and the unemployment rate rose to 11.4%. Canada's economy, meanwhile, shrank less than expected. According to estimates from Stats Canada, our GDP contracted 0.3% in April and by a similar amount in May. Economists had been anticipating a drop of 0.8% in April. Despite the drop, the numbers highlight how well Canada's economy handled the lockdowns to contain the spread of COVID-19. That resilience is expected to fuel a strong rebound in the second half of this year. Early evidence points to robust activity in June as restrictions were relaxed at restaurants and other services allowed to open once again. Economists are predicting the country will recover to pre-pandemic levels output in the third quarter. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was down 5 points on the day to finish at 20,166. The Dow was up 210 points to 34,503. The S&P 500 was up 5 points to 4298, and the Nasdaq was down 24 points on the day to 14,504. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 49 cents to 73.47 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 3.65 US. Gold was also up 2 cents to 17.7009 US an ounce, and silver was even at 26.13 US an ounce. Wheat is at $365 per metric ton. Barley's also at $365. Canola is at $801, and corn is at $325 per metric ton. Live cattle were down 5 cents to 122.50. Feeder cattle were down 2.78 to 154.63, and lean hogs were up 50 cents to 107.48. The Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours to 80.65 US. Recapping one of our top stories this hour, Lethbridge City Council has repealed its mandatory face covering bylaw effective July 1st or Canada Day. That means no more masks. There are exceptions, however. Face coverings must still be worn at acute care facilities, taxi cabs, ride-sharing services, and on transit. A former Conservative MP says if Canadians vote for the federal Liberal Party once again, it could be disastrous. Here are the thoughts of Ontario Independent MP Derek Sloan in just a moment. But first, here's a look what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News community calendar. It's time to plan your Canada Day celebrations. On July 1st, visit multiple sites to enjoy delicious food from various food truck vendors. At Legacy Park, enjoy refreshing treats from Tailgater's Snack Van and Piggyback Poutineery Food Truck. And at Nicholas Sharon Park, Visano Pizza and Jerry's Pop Shop will meet your Canada Day snacking needs. Many more vendors and locations can be found on lethbridge.ca or stay tuned to BCN's community calendar for more details. Helen Schuler Nature Center is reopening their indoor exhibit experience. Enjoy a new exhibit on display in the main gallery called Built for Life on the Prairies, which celebrates wildlife of the grasslands. Plus, a fine art installation by Elaine Henderson is on display in the community art gallery called Landscaping Wilderness. This installation features the beauty of nature's landscapes using a variety of media and color palettes. For more information, visit lethbridge.ca/things-to-do/nature center. And that's your Bridge City News Community Calendar.
Where is the political conservative movement at in Canada these days, and where is it headed? Some say it's become much more liberal in nature, especially on social issues, free speech, COVID restrictions, and climate change. Well, joining us today is an individual who has been criticized for his traditional conservative views. Derek Sloan is the MP for Hastings, Lennox, and Addington in Eastern Ontario. He joins us today. Thank you for joining us today, Derek. Appreciate having you on.
Really glad to be here. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Now, Derek, you were a Conservative Party of Canada MP. In fact, you ran for the leadership of the party, losing out to Aaron O'Toole, who later booted you out of the party. So some say the reason for that was because your right-wing views were clashing with the leader heading more toward the middle of the political spectrum. That's what they're kind of saying. So where do you see the CPC headed these days?
Well, they're headed to a frightening place. I think that really we don't have a federal conservative party anymore. By any metric, this party is further to the left than a Paul Martin or a John Chrétien liberal. Of course, we're in a time that's moved further to the left, but this leader really wants to show that he is, mainstream. He's bending over backwards to do it. And I think he's in the middle of fracturing the party with that stance. And I don't think, the polls are showing the Conservatives, it's not looking well for them.
Yeah, many opposed to you have seemed to think that you have little chance of re-election as an independent candidate. So how do you feel about that?
Well, listen, I think that I have as good a chance as any, particularly in my own riding. I have a lot of support here. But, Canadians are looking for something new. And there's, 4 parties at the federal level who are basically fighting for the same territory, but they're leaving a whole bulk of sort of, traditional Canadians, common sense Canadians that don't have any representation. So I think there's absolutely room for someone like myself. And I'm actively working on creating a movement across the country.
So, Derek, do you think that there is enough support in Canada for traditional conservatism to vote for right-wingers, or to support any new reform type of political parties to fill any gaps left by the CPC?
So I think there is. And I don't use the term right wing for myself. That's a term that other people use. And I really think that our country has become so polarized and so divided that anyone who sort of, believes that, people in our history, like the people who founded this country, we should keep their statues up. The values that have guided us for centuries are good values. Anyone who thinks that is labeled as an extremist or branded as someone who's, out in, left or right field, it's not the case. I have spoken to thousands of Canadians on the ground. Many Canadians don't like this divisiveness. They want common sense policies that put Canada first and that get our country going again. And they don't like this left-right, baiting and division.
Yeah, talk to us a bit about your concerns regarding the way our government leaders have handled the COVID pandemic with hard lockdowns. So what do you see as being problematic about this? Many Canadians actually agree with the restrictions because they see it as necessary to keep us safe.
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it's very clear that what we've been doing is not based in science. And in fact, it's not helping. there is good arguments to be made for helping people who are more vulnerable to COVID than others. But the idea that we should shut down the entire economy over and over and over again is suicidal. And there are so many different treatments for COVID that are showing great promise that are being used in other areas that our government is refusing to look at. They've done almost everything wrong with respect to dealing with COVID-19, and they're not willing to apologize for it. But I believe as time goes on, every week that goes by, Canadians are opening up to looking at new things and seeing how things are done elsewhere. And I believe there's going to be a huge price to pay for the way politicians have handled this.
Now, Derek, you also have big concerns about vaccine safety, especially when it comes to children and youth. So statistics do seem to indicate that the younger generation is at a far lesser health risk to COVID as compared to seniors. Yet most government health organizations are recommending vaccines for youth.
Well, not even the World Health Organization is recommending vaccines for youth right now, which is telling. And I'm not a fan of the World Health Organization, but if even they are not recommending it, you wonder why our government is. I just did a press conference a week and a half ago. It became in 2 days the most viewed CPAC video of all time. It has 625,000 views. I recommend that your listeners just look at that on YouTube if they search for CPAC and Derek Sloan. It had whistleblowers, it had doctors coming forward criticizing these very things. The risk profile for youth when it comes to getting or dying of COVID-19 is actually less than the flu. I'm not just throwing that out there. If you look at government data, it is less than the seasonal influenza. When you mass vaccinate a population like this, particularly when we're seeing these reports of heart inflammation and so on in some of these young healthy people, you ask yourself, why are we doing it? There's other doctors out there who are saying the same thing. It's not me saying this. It is medical professionals who are saying, listen, why are we doing this? And frankly, I agree.
Yeah, I actually saw an interview with one of the mRNA technology inventors of the technology of mRNA vaccines. And he has the same kind of concerns, which I found a little bit alarming and also interesting, but kind of along the same ideas as what you're saying, Derek. Now, I know one of your primary concerns is also about cancel culture, threats of freedom of speech and of assembly for those Canadians who hold genuine opinions on vaccines or COVID restrictions that go against the official government position. And even physicians, as you said, and scientists with eminent credentials seem to be, shut down by our government. So what is going on, Derek?
Well, it's bizarre. And to sort of use that press conference as an example, my Facebook channel, which was also broadcasting this official parliamentary press conference on Parliament Hill, was shut down in the middle of it, in the midst of one of the doctor's speeches. I raised this question in the House of Commons the very next day. I said, listen, is it right that social media is preventing Canadians from seeing and sharing official parliamentary functions? This is where we're at. And there's other examples that have happened in the United States where a YouTube or one of these things is blocking an official government function. It is the next level of censorship. It's entirely frightening. We've seen the Liberals bring in a few other bills that would make internet censorship basically kind of mandated by law. It is so frightening, it's hard to even grasp. And a lot of Canadians don't even know about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about freedom of religion? Do you think it's being eroded by the federal government? And if so, why?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So yes, it is. I mean, we're moving into a time where if you don't have the right ideology, if you don't have the right beliefs, your life can be under attack, whether online or other places. You'll have people looking for you to be fired if you say the wrong things. So we do live in that climate. That counts for everybody, but particularly people who hold traditional religious beliefs. We saw the bill C6 pass recently, which basically in any application, in a true application, would make illegal people teaching traditional values and sexuality in any real way, right? I mean, there may be a way to skirt under the radar, but there's many other things I could say on that bill. But it is true that freedom of religion is under attack. We've seen, in BC, for example, churches were shut for months at a time where you could hold an AA meeting at a church, but not a church service. I mean, these are the kinds of things, the weird COVID rules we're seeing across the country. that don't make any sense. And the church, by and large, there's many Christians are standing up against it, but a lot of people are just going with the flow, and it's troubling.
Yeah. Now, Derek, it looks like we're likely going to be having a federal election in the near future. So what would you like to see happen? And what do you realistically expect will happen with this?
Well, I firmly believe, and call me a dreamer if you wish, but I firmly believe that God is opening a door right now to new options in Canada. And I would just ask your viewers to watch and pray for them. And if a door opens, by all means, walk through it. I'm in consultations with different people trying to create a political alternative here in Canada. And I am hoping and praying that there will be a new choice for Canadians in an election, even if it were to come within a few months.
All right, then. And if we do end up with a Liberal majority or minority, how would this affect the economic and moral state of the nation?
Well, it would be catastrophic. And the last 5.5 years here of Liberal government have been very poor for the nation, both morally and economically. They've bought into various ideologies like climate catastrophism and other types of things that, taken to their extreme end, would bankrupt this country. And they're well on their way to doing that. But I would say to Canadians, take hope, pray for deliverance. And I truly believe that God is going to open doors leading into this next election. And we won't have to go through with that. But you're right. If we were to have another majority or minority, I believe we would see 4 more years of decline and division in this country.
Interesting. Thanks so much for being with us, Derek. Derek Sloan is the MP for Hastings, Lennox, and Addington in Eastern Ontario. Appreciate having you on today.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, today we're going to do a little bit of bragging about the beauty of southern Alberta. One of our jewels is, of course, Waterton Lakes National Park. And joining us to chat about it is Shamir Suleiman. He is the Vice President of the Waterton Park Chamber of Commerce. He's also the owner of the lovely Bayshore Inn, which is nestled right along Waterton Lake. Welcome to Bridge City News. Shamir, so great to have you here with us today.
Great to be here.
Okay, so for any viewers who have never visited Waterton Lakes National Park, why don't you take a minute, please, and tell them why they should visit this beautiful place?
It's been an interesting summer, especially last year, with so many people from all over this province not realizing that Waterton first was in Alberta. Second, seeing the picture so many times and thinking it was Banff, and then so many Albertans finally saying, you know what? Let's go there. And so we had so many new people that had never been. It was amazing. It was really cool to see so many Canadians that had never been there.
It's amazing that you say that there's Albertans that didn't realize it was part of Alberta too.
Oh, all the time. Anytime I tell anybody in Calgary or Edmonton where I am in Waterton, they'll always give me a second look like, I think I've heard of that. Is that in Alberta? I'm thinking, yeah, it's your province. You have to know that.
Oh, that is unbelievable because a lot of people like it better than Banff. I know, like one of the comments that I often hear, one of the comments I often hear is that visitors are surprised how cozy and not crazy busy Waterton is, of course, compared to so many other parks where it's so crowded.
Yeah, I think the big thing that people don't realize is in Waterton, there is only 350 hotel rooms. Whereas in Banff, one hotel has 350 hotel rooms. There's only so many campgrounds, not that many. So there's only so many accommodations to stay. So it only gets so packed. We're not on a major highway. We're off the beaten path. So if you're going to Waterton, you're going to Waterton. So it never really packs up. And the town site's so small and it's spread out so nicely that I think you have the feeling of space.
Okay, that is a really good point too, because it is kind of nestled down there off of major highways and stuff. So what are some of the comments that you've heard from visitors over the years?
For us, it's usually surprise. It's usually, oh my God, this is beautiful. They see the pictures, but when you see it live, that valley view, the Prince of Wales Hotel, walking along the beach, the hikes, you almost feel like you're a little bit back in time, a little bit, because you feel like it's the Banff of 40 years ago, where it's all family owned and operated businesses. So your small town ice cream shops, everybody knows everybody. It's all owner operated. So, you walk into Pat's, you're meeting the owner. You walk into my hotel, you're meeting me. You're walking into all the other restaurants. It's their family recipes for generations that have been there. So it's a different feel.
Yeah, it totally is. Now, there was a lot of construction last year with the building of the new visitor center, right? So when is that going to be completed, and what kinds of benefits will tourists see with this new facility?
So we're really excited about the visitor center. It looks gorgeous. It is, I'm going to say 95% complete. I spoke to Parks Canada this morning. They are pumping the brakes a little bit because of all the COVID restrictions. So they hope to have it open by September, but maybe earlier. But to see it, it's 95% complete. So it's great.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm excited about that. You mentioned COVID restrictions. So with those restrictions, you probably didn't have a lot of American or international visitors to the park last year. And that might be the case this year as well. I guess time will tell, right? So how has traffic been, and where are people traveling from?
We thought last year, we were really scared. We were hoping if we got 50% occupancy, we were happy. We ran sold out all year, and this year looks to be pretty much the same. So for us, I think there's still so many Albertans that have never been to Waterton.
Right.
So I think we're going to get a big wave of Albertans, and then I think we get a lot of people from BC, Saskatchewan, and the rest of Canada. So I don't foresee it being any slower this year.
Okay, interesting. Now, last season, a large portion of the town site campground was not open to the public, also because of construction. So is that now open for campers?
Yay, it's all complete. It looks beautiful. It's right on the lake. Get a spot if you can. They've completed the entire campground. It's beautiful. And it's open. The only thing that's not ready is the Crandall campground, which was up the Red Rock Parkway. That won't be ready, I think, until 2023, hopefully earlier, but maybe 2023 is what they're promising us. They started construction now, but that's a smaller campground. But the campgrounds outside the park have also expanded because it was so busy last year. So that should be some more space as well.
Okay, interesting. Now, you mentioned, of course, the Crandall campground, and that's up on the Red Rock Canyon Parkway. Now, that one was under construction because of that huge wildfire that happened a few years back, right?
Yeah.
That was back 2017, was it?
The 2017 Kenow wildfire.
Yeah, so I know because of that wildfire, the Red Rock Canyon Parkway and also the Acamina Parkway, they were closed to vehicle traffic for a few seasons there. But I think good news, right? Those actually opened up more recently,
Yes.
right?
Oh, I'm so excited. It's been since 2017, 4 years. And now we have the Red Rock Canyon Parkway open, as well as the Acamina Parkway up to Cameron Lake open. And finally, guys have been out of business for 4 years. They get to start up. So I'm excited to see them and visit them and rent their paddleboards and paddle boats.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen Cameron Lake, and of course Red Rock Canyon is so beautiful, and you got the waterfalls up there and just great hiking. So that is really exciting. Are there any kinds of special events or activities that we should mark on our calendars that the town has planned for the spring and summer this year?
So unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, we had to cancel the food festival. We had to cancel the wildflower festival. The Pat's Show and Shine Car Show, we're hoping that will still be a go. That's the last Sunday of August. And then if all goes well, and I'm very optimistic that the Wildlife Festival in September will be a go, and that's the second weekend of September, if it's a go.
Okay, exciting. Now, getting back to hiking, are most of those hiking trails open once again? I know some of them were closed because of those
They
fires,
are.
right?
Yeah, finally the Acamina Parkway is open. Carthew Alderson is open. I think we're back up to 90% of the hikes are open. Tamarack shuttles up to Cameron Lake, so you can hike back down. Those are going again. The guided hikes are going again. So I'm actually so excited about this summer. There's so much. Waterton's almost back to 100%, which is exciting for me.
Yeah, I know you have some amazing hikes. I believe Crypt Lake has been ranked as one of the top hikes in North America, or Canada at least, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
North America, and it's a great hike. Great hike.
It's by far my favorite. I think I've done it 3 times now. So speaking of that, you have to get across the lake on a boat. Are those cruises running this year?
So shoreline cruises aren't running yet. They will be running in the coming weeks. I don't know, but they won't be running this weekend. I think next weekend, hopefully, they should have their boats back in the water, and the marina should be open, and they'll shuttle you across over to Cameron Lake. Over to Crip Lake Landing.
So for sure by June, anyways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, excellent. Now, the well-known Waterton landmark, the Kilmorey Lodge, which burned down in 2009, has been under reconstruction, right? So is that going to be open this summer?
So that's been a slow go, and it was supposed to open. I spoke to the owners this morning, and unfortunately, due to, again, delays, because right now, because of the pandemic, because of everything that's happening, they're having trouble getting supplies in. So they won't be open till September is what they're hoping for, but maybe sooner. It really just depends on when everything arrives. But it's built, it's up, it looks great. They're just working on the inside right now.
Okay, great. What kinds of recreational activities are there in Waterton besides, of course, the obvious hiking, fishing, boating?
People always say that to me, especially when I go to trade shows. They're always saying, what is there to do there? Waterton has so much to do. For starters, the golf course was taken over by Lakeland Management, which is exciting. They own a bunch of golf courses. They've taken over ours, and they plan to make big improvements. So the golf course is always fantastic. Stanley Thompson golf course. Horseback riding, they're back in their stables now. We built them brand new stables, or I shouldn't say we, Parks Canada did. And beautiful stables. So that's up and running. That's always great to do. And in town, there's paddleboarding in Emerald Bay, canoeing with glass bottom canoes. Those are really fun to do. And we have a big e-bike program now. So Pat's and Blackiston Rentals, they rent e-bikes that you can take up to Cameron Lake and up to Red Rock Canyon. So those are amazing things to do. And of course, for the kids, the splash park is open right in the center of the village. They built a brand new splash park last year. So that's amazing. And rumor has it there's a roller rink coming in.
Oh, wow.
Where the theater was, but I don't know if that's going to happen. They're thinking about it. Everyone has to try that. That's another amazing experience that came in a few years ago. So that's been great. And then of course all the other staples, all the biking and of course all the hiking and shoreline cruises and all the usual fun stuff there is to do in Waterton.
Yeah, of course. So what kinds of facilities are available for those of us, for anybody who can't maybe stay the night but just want to enjoy the park for the day?
The good thing is Parks Canada has set up picnic tables all over now. So, of course, all the dining you can still enjoy. So many people showed up with just blankets and packed the beaches. And one thing I would love to say, and if you can get this message out, we want everyone to come, but clean up after yourselves. Last year we had a big garbage issue. I think a lot of people aren't used to national parks. We want to remind everyone that anything you bring in for trash, you got to take out for trash. We're a jewel, and it's all for all Canadians, and want everyone to really enjoy it.
Oh gosh, great advice. Absolutely. Keep our parks clean. Now, for those who do want to stay the night or for a week or two, how far in advance would a person have to book ahead for a hotel or a motel or even a campground spot?
Right away. Right away. I think everyone is probably hovering around 70-80% by now, I'm assuming. So if you want for sure weekends or even during the week, I mean, it's summer, every day is a weekend. So book as soon as possible. Get it booked, get it in. It's something you need to see. It's in your province and it's amazing.
Right. And I think the campgrounds are booked through Parks Canada website.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. They're booked through the Parks Canada website.
Okay,
yeah.
Excellent. Now, I know your hotel, Shamir, the Bayshore Inn, has some really nice dining. Are there any other special spots that you like to promote as part of the good eating in the town of Waterton? I know there's a lot of good eats there, aren't there?
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing that Waterton is definitely known for. The Lakeside Chop House is our restaurant. It's right on the waterfront. A place for me is always the Thirsty Bear. For those of you local in Southern Alberta, everybody knows about it now. It's been fully renovated. Amazing food. You have to try Trappers Barbecue. It's right on Main Street. Zum's, I love their fried chicken. Julie's Taco Bar. That's been a staple for the last few years. It's amazing as well. But really, give it a chance and try it all. If you can, it's great. There's a new pop shop that opened in Waterton too. That's great as well.
That's awesome. I like Wieners of Waterton too with the big smokies. Those are awesome. Those gourmet
They're
hot
always
dogs.
good. Oh yeah, you gotta have a Wieners in Waterton while you're in town as well.
That's awesome. Now, any final thoughts to share with our viewers on what Waterton has to offer, as if we haven't, bragged enough about it?
Covered it all already. You know, for me, I see Waterton a little different. Waterton to me is this slice of heaven. It's this place that when you look at it, and there's very few places in this world that you look at the mountains, you look at the lakes, you look at the sky, you look at how pristine it is, the animals around, and you really realize God's creation and God's land. It's something you got to see, and it's in our backyard. We're so lucky to have it. Everyone needs to enjoy it because it belongs to all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks so much for being with us, Shamir. It's been awesome to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Shamir Suleiman is the Vice President of the Waterton Park Chamber of Commerce and owner of Bay Shore Inn in Waterton. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.